People like you don't belong here. This food isn't meant for your type. That's what the teenage punk shouted as he yanked my groceries right out of my cart at Fresh Mart. His mother, a classic Hokarina, whipped out her phone instantly. "Send 20 units. There's a dangerous man here," she shrieked, claiming she ran the entire neighborhood. I almost regretted stopping Theory almost. What she didn't know was, those 20 squad cars she demanded, they reported to me. And when she discovered who I really was, karma didn't just show up and through a parade. It all started on what had been an uneventful Thursday. I was standing in line at Fresh Mart, my cart filled with organic produce and fresh cuts of meat. I'd only been living in Oakwood Estates for 2 weeks, but I'd been police chief for 6 months, laying low intentionally, just observing the community I was tasked to serve. In jeans and a plain t-shirt, I looked like just another resident, not someone who led the local police department. While the cashier scanned my items, I heard someone stomp up behind me. Then came the signature throat clear of a cocky teen trying to get attention. Before I could even glance back, a pale hand snatched my organic tomatoes right off the belt. "You don't need this bougie stuff," came the voice of a smug 16-year-old brimming with entitlement. He had that look kids get when they've never been disciplined. Later I'd learn his name was Tyler Thompson. He stood there, holding my tomatoes like he'd just earned a trophy. "This isn't for people like you. You belong in the regular aisles." His voice cracked slightly, revealing the insecurity behind the tough act. Years of law enforcement experience helped me stay calm. I kept my tone firm but even, "Son, those are mine. Hand them back, please." No anger, no escalation, just facts. But Tyler decided to turn it into theater. He recoiled in mock terror, clutching the tomatoes like I'd attacked him. "Mom, move!" he shouted. Heads turned, some rolled their eyes. "This guy's attacking me," he wailed dramatically. Most shoppers weren't buying Naito, but one person absolutely did. The sound of designer heels clacking across linoleum announced her before I saw her. Patricia Thompson stormed in like a storm in stilettos, swinging her luxury purse, racing to her son's rescue. "Get away from my baby," she screeched, dialing 911 with one hand and pushing Tyler behind her with the other. Her voice pierced the air as she sobbed into her phone. "Yes, emergency. We're being attacked at Fresh Mart on Oak Street. He's tall 6 feet, maybe more, and threatening my child. Send police. Send the SWAT team." 10 cars, no 20. Other shoppers now pulled out their phone as a not to call for help, but to capture the spectacle. Patricia was too wrapped up in her performance to notice the crowd forming. I pulled out my phone and started recording as well, making sure to get clear audio. "Ma'am," I said calmly, "your son took my groceries and used bigoted language. I asked for them back." She spun around with her face flushed red. "Shut up. People like you always play the victim, stirring up trouble where you don't belong." She pointed at me like she was casting a curse. "I'm on the HOA board. I run things around here. You'll regret ever showing your face in this store." The store security guard hovered by the entrance, clearly unsure of what to do. I gave him a small note. "Don't worry, I've got this." Then I turned back to Patricia, curious. "And what neighborhood would that be, ma'am?" "Oakwood Estates," she snapped proudly, like the name alone should scare me. "The nice part, the exclusive part, not where people like you live." I smiled, and judging by how quickly she took a step back, she didn't like it. "Well," I replied casually, "I just moved to Oakwood Estates 2 weeks ago." "Small world, isn't it?" Patricia's face lost all color. That's not possible," she stammered. "I know everyone in that neighborhood." "You're lying." Tyler's confidence was visibly draining. He looked from me to his mom, gripping my bag of tomatoes like it might save him. I let the silence linger before gesturing to the checkout line. "May I finish checking out now? Would hate for the ice cream to melt." Patricia's mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. Finally, she grabbed her son's arm and began backing away. "This isn't over," she hissed. "You'll see. The police will be here any second and then you'll be sorry." Tyler hurled the tomatoes back onto the belt, one landing on the floor with a wet splat. I picked it up, paid for my groceries, and calmly walked out, fully aware this wasn't the end. Patricia Thompson had just picked the wrong neighbor to mess with, and she didn't even know it yet. Later that evening, as she pulled into her driveway, She spotted me stepping out of the house directly across from hers. The expression on her face, priceless. She dropped her shopping bags right there, cans spilling across her pristine lawn. She stood frozen on her front lawn, mouth wide open as if she'd seen a ghost. Number, no. She screeched, her voice echoing across the quiet cul-de-sac. This isn't happening. I gave a casual wave while strolling to my mailbox, behaving like our Freshmart fiasco never occurred. Lovely evening, isn't it, neighbor? I called out cheerfully. Her face darkened into a purplish red hue as she scrambled to gather her spilled groceries, glaring at me with every movement. That night, the real battle began. At exactly 2 a.m., the Thompson household erupted with blaring music so loud it likely broke a few noise ordinances. From my window, I could see Patricia, front and center in her living room, phone in hand, streaming live to what I assumed was her HOA echo chamber, teaching this intruder a lesson. She shouted over the bass, "This is what happens when the wrong kind tries to infiltrate our neighborhood." Unbothered, I calmly picked up my phone and began recording everything. One quick message to my deputy chief. Phase 1 initiated. They're taking the bait. By 3 a.m., the music finally cut off, only to be replaced by the unmistakable sound of eggs splattering against my front door. Tyler's aim was pathetic. Most eggs missed, leaving gooey streaks on the siding that would be a chore to wash off later. By 4 a.m., all three of their dogs had somehow gotten loose. They ran straight into my yard, tore up my freshly planted flowers, and did their business on my front steps like it was a dare. I watched it all unfold through the window, every moment captured crystal clear by my security cameras. Patricia appeared on her porch in a silk robe, half-heartedly calling for the dogs. "Oh no, how did they get out?" she said in a voice faker than a soap opera audition. "Bad dogs, come back." She was still filming herself, probably thinking she was creating a believable cover story. What she was actually doing was providing me with more evidence. The next morning, I went about my routine like nothing happened, watering the remaining flowers, the egg mess already cleaned, the footage already archived. Then she stormed across the street like she was leading troops into battle. Her confidence wavered slightly when she saw how relaxed I looked. "You don't belong here," she spat, stopping just short of stepping onto my property. "This is a good neighborhood, a family community. We have standards." Without even turning to look at her, I kept watering my plants. "Absolutely, it's a beautiful place," I replied calmly. "No wonder you'd want to protect it from folks who egg houses and let their dogs destroy flower beds." Her face went beet red, but she didn't back down. "I don't know what you're implying," she snapped, "but I'll make your life miserable until you leave." I finally turned to her, smiling politely. "Ma'am, you've already started. Please, go right ahead. Everything's being documented for posterity." The threat was gentle, but it landed. Her eyes narrowed as they landed on the security camera above my front door. She let out a sharp laugh and pointed at it. "You think that little camera scares me? That it's going to protect you?" She turned on her heel and stormed off, already texting someone furiously on her phone. Later that night, I watched from my study as Tyler snuck across the street, baseball bat in hand. He smashed the visible camera with 3 angry swings, then pulled out a spray can. What he wrote on my garage door was revolting, racist, hateful, gut-wrenching, but he filmed himself doing it, uploading the video to what he thought was a private social media account. "Got his camera," he wrote smugly. "Now the loser can't prove a thing. Mom's gonna be so proud." What neither Tyler nor Patricia realized was that the busted camera was a $30 fake I bought online. The real surveillance setup: 4 hidden cameras, one in the porch light, one inside the mailbox, one in the doorbell, and another inside a decorative garden rock. Every angle covered, every act recorded to HD and timestamped. As I sat reviewing the footage, my phone buzzed. It was Linda, my next-door neighbor. She spoke softly, like someone sharing classified intel. "Marcus, a broken bar. Patricia doesn't know what you do for a living, does she?" I chuckled. "No, Linda, she doesn't, and I'd like to keep it that way for now." There was a pause on the line. "She's run off 3 families in the last 2 years, Linda finally said. "All of them were minorities. She made their lives unbearable. Just a broken bar, be careful. She's meaner than she looks. I hung up and pulled up neighborhood crime data. 3 minority families, all left within 2 years, all cited hostile environment in their relocation filings. Patricia Thompson had been bullying this community unchecked for years, hiding behind her spot on the HOA board like a shield. She thought she was untouchable, but she was about to find out just how wrong she was. My phone buzzed again, a message from my deputy, Chief Washington. Do we intervene now? I typed back, not yet. Let her keep digging. She hasn't hit bottom. As I backed up the video files to multiple encrypted servers, I allowed myself a small grin. Patricia thought she was playing a psychological game, but while she was playing checkers, I'd been playing chess for 2 decades. The only question now was, how far would Patricia go before she buried herself completely? And what exactly was I waiting for? Comment karma if you think Patricia's about to get what's coming to her. The Oakwood Estates Community Center was overflowing that evening for the emergency meeting Patricia had thrown together. She framed it as a neighborhood security crisis. She'd sent out mass emails, posted flyers, called every homeowner she could reach, drumming up fear and panic until half the community was on edge. I arrived early, 15 minutes ahead, choosing a seat in the very back where I had a full view of the room. Patricia stood proudly at the front, next to a projector set up with a PowerPoint presentation titled The Marcus Problem. Yes, really, it even featured grainy photos she'd taken of me, presumably from behind her curtains. As people continued to trickle in, I quietly observed. The crowd that had gathered was telling a mostly white, mostly middle-aged, and most of them looking somewhere between awkward and politely trapped. No one wanted to be rude by leaving, but they also weren't exactly thrilled to be there. At the front of the room stood Patricia in her most official-looking business suit, papers shuffling in her manicured hands as she whispered urgently to Tyler, who sat front row with a smug expression barely masking his boredom. Flanking her at the head table were several HOA board members, including the HOA president, an older man named Richard, who looked like he'd rather be enduring a root canal than sitting through Patricia's theatrics. At the top of the hour, Patricia flicked on a laser pointer and launched into her performance. "Thank you all for responding to this urgent call," she began, her voice trembling with full concern. "I've brought us together tonight to address a very serious threat to the safety and values of our neighborhood." She clicked to the first slide, a blurry, zoomed-in photo of me watering my garden, as if she'd caught me committing a felony. "This man," she declared dramatically, pointing at the projected image like I was a wanted fugitive, "moved in just 2 weeks ago under highly questionable circumstances." She squinted at the crowd, voice rising with every accusation. "He says he bought the Morrison house, but has anyone verified that? Has anyone checked his background, his references?" Gasps and murmurs fluttered across the room as Patricia built her case. "He attacked my teenage son at Fresh Mart yesterday," she went on. "Poor Tyler was minding his own business when this stranger became aggressive." Tyler nodded eagerly from his seat. "He gave me this look, broken bar, like he was gonna kill me." A few people squirmed in their chairs, some glanced around uncomfortably, while others began nodding along. Someone muttered something about declining property value as I mentally flagged their face. Patricia advanced to the next slide, a selectively edited clip from her home security system, omitting Tyler's actions entirely. "I have video evidence of his suspicious activity," she declared proudly. "The footage showed me standing in my driveway, then abruptly cut to me entering my home. See?" she whispered conspiratorially. "Always watching, always lurking." Her tone dropped to a near whisper, eyes darting across the room. "As a board member, I move that we begin formal proceedings to have him removed from the community." "Who's with me?" About a dozen hands shot up right away, but many others looked confused, hesitant. Richard cleared his throat, clearly uncomfortable. "Patricia, broken bar, we can't just evict someone without cause. There are actual laws that apply here." Patricia's face turned crimson. "Laws? What about the law of protecting our children, our property values, our way of life?" The dog whistle couldn't have been louder if she'd brought an actual megaphone. Just as things reached a boiling point, I stood up, all heads turned. Patricia's face changed colors faster than a mood ring on fire. "Thanks for the warm welcome, Patricia," I said calmly, walking to the front. "I didn't invite you," she snapped, gripping her laser pointer like she might use it to stab me. I smiled and pulled out my phone. HOA laws clearly state all residents can attend open board meetings. I took the liberty of reading the handbook of fascinating stuff. Richard looked relieved. You are absolutely correct, Mr. Washington, I said. Marcus Washington, and with your permission, I'd like to share a few videos of my own. Patricia began to object, but Richard was already nodding. Fair is fair. If Patricia gets to present her side, so does our new neighbor. I connected my phone to the projector with practiced ease. I noticed Patricia's hands begin to tremble. Let's start with the full, unedited footage from Fresh Mart, I said, and hit play. The room fell dead silent as the screen showed Tyler snatching my groceries, hurling bigoted comments, and pretending to be a saltito while his mother hysterically demanded 20 police cars. Patricia's voice over the phone, panicked, dramatic, unmistakably filled the room. That's fake, she stammered. That's a deepfake. I calmly tapped the next video. This one's from my home security system. Last night, footage rolled of Tyler vandalizing my home, baseball bat in hand. Patricia could be seen in the background, clearly watching and directing. Then came the spray paint, the words, the slurs. Several people gasped. A man in a suit stood abruptly and headed for the door. I can't be connected to this, he muttered. My company's got diversity policies. Another woman, who had earlier nodded along with Patricia, turned on her with fury. You told us he was the problem. That he threatened Tyler. You didn't mention this. Richard wiped sweat from his brow and grabbed the mic with visibly shaking hands. Patricia, this is criminal behavior. If we don't act on this, the HOA could be legally liable. Our insurance doesn't even cover hate crimes. In the corner, the association's lawyer looked like he was having a small meltdown, scribbling furiously into his legal pad and shaking his head. Tyler had sunk so low in his chair that only his mop of hair was visible. His face was tomato red, and snickers began spreading through the back rows. Yo, isn't that the same Tyler from Oakwood High? Someone whispered loudly. The one Keshaw Johnson turned down last month. Then came the shouting. Patricia, what the hell did you do? World Star, someone yelled as phones came out and clips were uploaded in real time. Chaos erupted. Shouting, arguing, people turning on each other in every direction. Patricia's so-called supporters, quiet as mice now, a few started slipping toward the exits. This is entrapment. Patricia screamed above the noise. He set us up. He's probably a criminal, a drug dealer. Someone check his background. Richard banged the gavel repeatedly until things quieted down. I'm calling for a motion, he said. Vote to remove Marcus Washington from the neighborhood. The vote was counted. 15 in my favor, 12 against, several abstained. The look on Patricia's face could have shattered glass. You're all traitors, she screamed. I've protected this neighborhood for years, and this is how you repay me? She turned toward me, hand shaking, finger aimed like a loaded weapon. You think you're so smart? Who do you think you are? I rose slowly from my chair, letting her words hang in the air. Every person in that room now locked in silence, waiting for my response. Broken bar. The tension in the room was tangible. Everyone sensed something major was coming. That's a great question, Patricia, I said evenly, eyes locking with hers. But tonight's not the night for that answer. I packed up my phone, slung my bag over my shoulder, and made my way toward the exit. Just as I reached the doorway, I paused. Oh, and Patricia? I glanced back over my shoulder. You might want to check who signs the paychecks for those 20 squad cars you tried to sick on me. The silence in the room was so absolute, it rang louder than any outburst. Questions hung in the air. What did he mean? Was he bluffing? Could he be broken bar police? The very next morning, Patricia began her online offensive via what could only be described as a digital blitzkrieg. By sunrise, her fingerprints were all over local message boards and neighborhood Facebook groups. Each post was more deranged than the last. Dangerous individual in Oakwood Estate. Protect your children, one warned. Beneath the same grainy photo of me calmly watering my garden, another accused me of running a drug ring from my garage. A third claimed I was a burglar scouting houses. It would have been laughably if not so insidious. A message from Linda lit up my phone. Have you seen what she's posting? This is beyond crazy. I combed through the smear campaign, screenshotting every lie and slandered claim. quietly adding them to my already massive evidence folder. But Patricia's fatal misstep didn't come from her own rancor, it came from her son. Tyler, true to his age and arrogance, had documented nearly every step of their harassment campaign. He thought he was being clever, using an anonymous burner account, but he hadn't disabled location tagging. Every single post, every video, every hateful stunt, they were all geotagged directly to their home. One clip showed Patricia in the background, barking orders, "Post more, make him look dangerous. People need to believe he's a threat." Another caught her on a phone call while Tyler goofed off in the frame. The conversation, however, was far from playful. "I'll pay you $2,000 if you write something about him," Patricia said. "Just say he has a record or something." Then came the call that sealed it all. Patricia stepped onto her front porch that evening, likely thinking she was being clever by using a burner phone. What she didn't realize, my surveillance setup included long-range audio capture. Her voice came through crystal clear. "Janet, it's me," she said. "You remember the black guy I mentioned, my neighbor? I need you to write something on your blog." A pause. Then she snapped, "I don't care if there's no evidence, just look at him. People believe Ida, especially when it's someone like him." Another pause. "Yes, 2,000 in cash, just make him seem like a criminal. Dangerous, whatever works." Janet, to her credit, didn't play along. "Patricia Broken Bar, I run a real blog." "That's defamation. I could lose my entire career." Patricia's tone hardened into something dark and cold. "It's not defamation if everyone already believes it," she hissed. "And don't forget who testified at your custody hearing. Would be a shame if I remembered things a Broken Bar differently." The silence on the other end stretched long and heavy. Then Janet's quiet response cut through it like a razor. "That's blackmail." "It's friendship," Patricia whispered. "Real friends help each other." $2,000 a Broken Bar, or I just might recall some details about your ex-husband's accusations. Just after that, she noticed Linda's little girl playing by the fence with my golden retriever. The girl giggled as the dog licked her fingers. Patricia exploded out her front door. "Madison, get away from there. Don't touch that vicious animal." The child ran home in tears while Patricia stood in her yard, shrieking toward my house. "Keep your dangerous beasts away from our kids. I'm calling animal control." I watched the whole tantrum unfold on my monitors from the comm of my home office. Every lie, every threat, every frantic accusation was logged to video, audio, timestamps, and backups in multiple places. But it wasn't all just noise. That night, the hate cut deeper. Spray painted across my car in thick red letters, "Go back where you came from." A dead rat lay on my doorstep with a note, "You're next." For the first time during all of this, I felt truly weary. Not afraid, never afraid, but exhausted. Tired of fighting this same poison in a new zip code. Tired of ignorance that dressed itself up as concerned citizenship. Sitting in my office, I scrolled to a photo on my phone. Sarah, my late wife, smiling at me from the beach we visited during our final trip together. I whispered to her memory, "You always said take the high road, but baby, a Broken Bar, sometimes the high road leads straight off a cliff, and someone's got to stop people like Patricia before they push anyone else over the edge." My phone buzzed again. A text from my deputy. "Boss, the city council's pressuring the department about your situation. They're considering suspending you pending review." I stared at the screen, jaw tight. So Patricia had strings. She'd been pulling levers behind the scenes this whole time. Another message arrived. "How should we proceed?" I sat back in my chair, then typed out a reply. "Schedule the press conference tomorrow. 3 p.m. at City Hall. All department heads required." The reply came instantly. "Are you sure? Once this goes public, there's no turning back." I stared at the screen, then smiled. "I'm sure. It's time." The rest of my night was spent collecting every recording, every screenshot, and every damning post. Meanwhile, Patricia, completely unaware of what was coming, was celebrating. She'd seen the announcement about the press conference and assumed it was about her complaints. "Victory," she thought. "Everyone meet at City Hall tomorrow," she wrote in her groups. "The police chief's finally addressing our concerns. We are going to expose this man once and for all." She even called her friends to rally support. "Bring signs," she told them. "Let the press see how serious we are about protecting Oakwood Estates." Tyler, ever her little echo, uploaded a video of his mother practicing her speech in front of the mirror. "Chief," she rehearsed dramatically, "this man is terrorizing our family. He's a danger to public safety." She was so confident, so convinced, not once stopping to ask why the department had moved so quickly, not once realizing whose name was listed as the press conference lead. That night, while she practiced her line as I prepared my truth, that night, I went over everything one last time, every message, every video, every ounce of proof that led us to this point. Patricia Thompson had spent years tormenting anyone who didn't fit into her narrow mold of acceptable. 3 families pushed out, dozens more bullied, all because they didn't meet her vision of who deserved to live in her perfectly curated suburb. But the reckoning was coming, and this time, karma wore a badge. As I finally drifted off to sleep, my phone buzzed with one final message. "Marcus, I hope you know what you're doing." A mayor. Lying there in the dark, I smiled. I knew exactly what I was doing. Patricia wanted 20 police units. She demanded the chief. She screamed for justice. Tomorrow, she'd get all 3, just not in the way she imagined. What she didn't know, that press conference wasn't about her complaints, it was about her consequences. And she had no idea who would be standing behind that podium. City Hall was packed before the hour even struck. By 2:45, every local news station had staked out a spot, tripods planted, microphones tested. The official notice was vague: press conference on community safety and recent neighborhood incidents. Just enough to stir interest, just vague enough to keep the real purpose veiled. But Patricia, she thought it was her moment. She strutted in with a small parade of supporters, stationed herself in the front row like a keynote speaker, and clutched a folder of what she clearly believed was damning evidence. She was dressed to impress, a business suit, smug expression, self-importance radiating off her like heat. The podium bore a sign, Police Chief Marcus Washington, but she was so blinded by her own narrative, she never even read the name. "Where's the police chief?" she asked loudly to someone nearby. "I need to speak with him before he starts. He has to hear what this criminal has been doing." Right on the hour, I stepped in through the side door, dressed in full police regalia. Every ribbon, every medal from 20 years of service gleamed under the lights. As I walked toward the podium, the press fell silent, to every camera shifting into place, every reporter sensing something big. Patricia's eyes locked onto me and she snapped to her feet, pointing like she'd just uncovered a fugitive. "Officer, that's him. That's the man I've been reporting. Arrest him right now." A wave of murmurs passed through the room. Security moved toward her, unsure of what to do. I lifted one hand. "It's fine," I said quietly. Without a word to Patricia, I walked straight past her and took my place at the podium. The click of my dress shoes on the floor echoed through the hall. From the corner of my eye, I saw her face twist in pure confusion, which made everything worth it. "What are you doing?" she shrieked. "You can't be up there." "Someone stop him." "Where's the chief?" "I want the chief." I adjusted the mic, then looked calmly into the sea of faces. "Good afternoon, everyone," I began. "Thank you for being here. Today, I'd like to address a series of disturbing incidents that have taken place in Oakwood Estates." Patricia was now visibly shaking with rage. "He's lying. That man is impersonating a police officer. That's illegal. Arrest him." I didn't flinch, didn't even look in her direction. "Before we begin," I continued, "I want to share with you a series of video and audio files. What you're about to see may be unsettling, but it's important, because it reveals a patterns of behavior this city can no longer ignore." The room darkened as the first video began to play. Tyler's social media post filled the screen, of him vandalizing my property. Patricia in the background whispering, "Make him look dangerous." You could hear her voice as clear as day. The room went quiet, just the sound of furious typing as journalists scrambled to capture every detail. Next, the audio from Patricia's call to the blogger. "Just look at him. People will believe it. They always do when it's someone like him." Gasps. Then the video of my garage, Tyler, full view, spray painting that disgusting word. And finally, the 911 call from the grocery store. Patricia's voice, hysterical. "Send 20 police units. He's threatening my son." All over Tomatoes. The lights came back on. Every camera had now swung toward Patricia, her fascia flushed, drained, humiliated. "It's fake. she sputtered. Deepfakes. He set me up. I reached into my uniform jacket and pulled out my badge. The entire room held its breath. With slow, deliberate motion, I placed it on the podium with a hard clunk that echoed like a gavel. "Ms. Thompson," I said, my voice amplified across the hall. "2 weeks ago, you demanded to know who I am. You called 911, demanded the chief, wanted answers." "Well, a broken bar." I paused. "I am the chief." A hush fell over the crowd. "I'm Police Chief Marcus Washington. I've been serving this city for 6 months, and I moved into Oakwood Estates 2 weeks ago, undercover, to better understand the community, to see how people act when they don't know the chief of police is watching." The explosion of noise was instantaneous. Reporters jumped to their feet. Cameras flashed like lightning. Patricia's supporters stumbled away from her like she was contagious. Someone shouted, "She called the cops on the police chief." And just like that, the chant began. "She called the chief. She called the chief." Patricia's face crumbled. Her legs gave out. She fainted right there in the front row, folding like a house of cards. Paramedics rushed in as Tyler made a break for Ita, only to trip and crash into the folding chairs. The crowd gasped, then laughed. That moment alone would be viral within the hour, but I wasn't done. I leaned into the mic, my tone firm. "Patricia Thompson," I said, glancing toward the stretcher as they revived her, "when you've recovered, you'll be facing charges, multiple, including harassment, filing false police reports, defamation, inciting a hate crime, and obstruction of justice." The room was still. Her downfall was complete. "You're under arrest," I said evenly, "for filing false police reports, aggravated harassment, criminal threatening, and conspiracy to commit defamation. You have the right to remain silent, which, frankly, I strongly recommend you finally use." Patricia, barely conscious as paramedics loaded her onto the stretcher, managed a dazed, breathy protest. "Boot to broken bar." "But you can't be broken bar." I leaned in, just close enough so only she could hear. "Ma'am," I whispered, "I literally run the entire department. Every single officer works for me." As she was wheeled out, Tyler trailed behind in cuffs, his head down and his face streaked with tears. The crowd erupted again. A young reporter turned to her older colleague, eyes shining like a kid at Christmas. "This is better than Watergate," she whispered. "Did you see her face when he pulled out the badge?" Patricia's remaining supporters scattered like startled pigeons. One woman desperately tried to hide her "We Stand with Patricia" sign behind her back, but the cameras caught it anyway. Up in the front row, the mayor loosened his tie, leaned over to his aide, and hissed, "Draft a statement. Now, make it clear she never represented us." Meanwhile, Tyler's cries filled the corridor. "But Mom, you said he was a nobody. You said we owned this town. You said the police would take our side." The young officer leading him out gave a tired shake of the head. "Key to broken bar. Your mom spent 2 weeks harassing our boss. Nobody owns Chief Washington." The hashtag #Karen called the chief exploded online before I even stepped away from the podium. But I wasn't finished. Not yet. Because calling the cops on the police chief, that was just the beginning of Patricia Thompson's problems. Within 24 hours, her life completely collapsed in the most public, excruciating way possible. The footage of her fainting got 100 million views in just 2 days. People remixed it into operas, death metal tracks, even lo-fi study beats. Memes bloomed like wildfire. Her employer, a luxury real estate firm known for preaching diversity and ethics, issued a swift, cold statement before sundown. "We do not tolerate discrimination of any kind." Patricia Thompson's employment has been terminated, effective immediately. She went from queen bee to digital pariah in record time. Even her allies started backpedaling, saying they always felt something was off. Then came the legal hammer. 4 criminal charges. While her lawyer managed to keep her out of jail, she wasn't walking away untouched. 2 years of probation, $50,000 in fines, and 500 hours of community service, most of it focused on racial sensitivity training. The judge, an older woman with zero patience for performative contrition, gave it to her straight. "You wanted the police involved? Well, congratulations. Now we're all involved for the next 2 years." Tyler wasn't spared either. His juvenile court hearing ended with 90 days in detention, 500 hours of community service, and expulsion from school. Any chance he had at a top college disappeared when hate-fueled vandalism became a permanent line on his record. He tried to shift the blame at sentencing. "She made me do it. She said if I didn't help, she'd take away my car, my phone." The judge didn't flinch. "You're 16, old enough to know that spray painting hate speech is wrong regardless of what your mother says." Outside the courtroom, he asked his public defender in a broken voice, "Is my life over? Will any college take me now?" The lawyer sighed. "It's not over, kid, but you've made the road a hell of a lot steeper." Patricia, of course, was still spinning herself as the victim at her own sentencing. "This is reverse discrimination," she cried. "I'm being targeted for being white and successful." The prosecutor, a poised Asian American woman, responded calmly while presenting 57 pieces of evidence. "Ms. Thompson, you recorded your own harassment campaign. You posted it online. You created the case against yourself." The HOA didn't wait long either. In an emergency meeting, a one she wasn't invited to, and Patricia was voted off the board. Unanimously, "She's made us all look like bigots," one former rally said, "and tanked our property values." Poetic, considering she spent her life pretending property values were her only concern. 6 months later, her foreclosed house was purchased by a lovely black family, Dr. Johnson, his wife, and their 3 kids. "Linda called me just to share the news. You should see Patricia's face when she comes to check her mail at the P.O. box," she said between laughs. "Looks like someone force-fed her lemons." And then, the internet delivered the final blow. A parody video game appeared online called Karen vs. the Chief, where players had to avoid accidentally calling the cops on undercover officers. Her fainting clip got remixed into 50 different songs. Tyler's spectacular trip and fall became the latest viral TikTok dance, the Tyler tumble. The story hit CNN, the BBC, even Ellen's monologue. Trevor Noah roasted it for 10 straight minutes. A documentary dropped on a major streaming service, and people couldn't stop watching. Patricia's last desperate act was a GoFundMe campaign titled, "Victim of Police Entrapment, Help Me Fight Back." It raised $3.50, all of it from Tyler before being pulled for violating the platform's hate speech policy. Her final public appearance, a Facebook clip from her near-empty home, cardboard boxes in the background as she ranted to the last dozen viewers. "I'm not racist. I have a black dentist. I shop at stores owned by those people." The comments were merciless. "Sure, Karen, cry harder. This you?" With screenshots of her worst posts attached. "I never gloated publicly. Privately, sure, I watched the fainting video a few times, maybe more than a few. I donated the money from the civil suit to youth diversity programs. I launched a community policing initiative that included monthly town halls with local officers. We created new training protocols under the banner, Assumptions and Authority: How Bias Shapes Policing." When asked about Patricia in interviews, "I kept it professional. This was never about one person. It's about ensuring every member of our community feels safe, heard, and respected, no matter what they look like." But when one reporter finally asked if I had any regrets, I smiled. "Only one," I said with a straight face. She asked for 20 police cars, and I could only send 2. Budget cuts. 1 year later, fate brought us face to face again. But neither of us could have predicted what would happen next. A broken bar. I spotted him in an orange vest, stooped over with one of those grabber tools, picking up trash in the park. He straightened up and turned around, and there he was, Tyler Thompson. But he wasn't the same smug teenager who once called me a threat over tomatoes. He looked leaner now, worn down in a way that comes from hard lessons. The arrogance was gone, replaced by something else: a regret. The moment he saw me, he froze, gripping the trash bag so tightly his knuckles went pale. "Chief Washington," he said softly, barely above a whisper. I didn't say anything at first, just studied him for a moment. Tyler's eyes welled up, and then, like something inside him finally snapped, the dam burst. "I'm sorry," he choked. "God, I'm so sorry. I was stupid. I was racist. I was everything that's wrong in the world." Tears streamed down his face now, his voice shaking with the weight of shame. "My mama broken bar, she taught me to think that way. But I made those choices. I did those things. I ruined everything. I ruined my life." His supervisor started walking over, concerned. but I waved them off. "Your mom might have taught you," I said quietly, "but you chose to act. You chose to spray paint my house. You chose to post those lies. You chose to be part of that." Tyler nodded, his face crumpled with guilt. "I know. I hate myself for it. My future's over." "No," I said, firmly. He looked up, surprised. "It's not over, it's damaged. There's a difference. Damaged means you can still fix it, but you've got to work harder now." I pulled a business card from my pocket and held it out. He hesitated before taking it, as if the card itself might judge him. "Second Chance Youth Program," I told him. "They help kids with records rebuild. College isn't off the table, it's just harder now. Same with jobs." "But it's possible." His hands trembled as he took the card. "Why would you help me?" he whispered. "After everything I did?" I thought about it for a beat. "Because hate taught you hate. Maybe kindness can teach you something better." "I don't deserve this," he said, gripping the card like it was the last thing keeping him standing. "You're probably right," I replied, and he flinched. "But grace isn't about what we deserve. It's about whether we're willing to change. So the question is, are you?" He nodded so hard I thought his neck might snap. "Yes. I volunteer at the food bank now. I'm trying to be better." "I'm trying." I watched him for another moment, then nodded back. "Then make the call, do the work." "And Tyler," he looked at me hopefully, "don't waste this. You won't get another shot from me." As I walked away, I heard him whisper, "Thank you." I didn't respond. Redemption isn't mine to give. All I can offer is the chance. Later that evening, at our now annual Unity because something Oakwood Estates never had before, Authisa Linda found me behind the grill, flipping burgers. "You know Tyler helps at the food bank now," she said casually. "So I've heard," I replied. "His mom still blames you, though," she added. "Still posts on weird websites, claims you're part of some plot to erase white people." I chuckled, shaking my head. "Some people would rather drown in hate than admit they were wrong." Linda pointed across the park. "But some be a broken bar, some actually learn." I looked where she was pointing. Tyler was at the serving table, handing out plates to a long line of families: black, white, Latino, Asian, everyone. He smiled as he handed a plate to a little black girl who shyly thanked him. Our eyes met across the field. He gave me a respectful nod. I returned it, then went back to flipping burgers. A little boy tugged on my apron. Couldn't have been older than 8. "Mr. Police Chief?" he asked excitedly. "My mom says you're a hero. She says you stopped a bad lady." I knelt down to his level and smiled. "I'm not a hero, buddy. I just did my job." "Real heroes, they're the ones who admit when they're wrong and choose to do better. That takes more courage than anything I've ever done." He nodded solemnly, like I just told him a secret only grown-ups understood, then ran off to play. I stood and looked around. Families from every background laughing together, kids playing tag, neighbors who once barely spoke now sharing meals. This was what Patricia had feared. The mixing, the unity, the truth that her worldview was dying and being replaced by something better. That night, alone in my office, I pulled out the photo of Sarah again. "You were right, baby," I whispered. "The high road does lead somewhere. Some folks just take longer to get there, but they can get there." And that's how a racist Karen called the cops on the police chief. She wanted 20 police cars. She got AMA, but not how she expected. Patricia Thompson thought her privilege made her untouchable, thought her HOA title made her powerful, thought she could terrorize anyone who didn't look like her. She was wrong. She lost her job, her home, her reputation, her freedom, all because she couldn't mind her own business. The lessons are simple. Never judge someone by how they look. You have no idea who you are dealing with. Your private posts aren't so private when you're committing crimes. Karma is undefeated, and it's got a wicked sense of humor. Most of all, hate may be taught a broken bar, but so is change. Tyler proved that even someone who messed up that badly can still try to make it right if they want it badly enough. If the story hit you in the gut, share it with someone who needs to see karma in action. Comment Karma Police if you think Patricia got exactly what she deserved. And always remember, be kind to the people around you, because your next door neighbor might just be your boss's boss's boss. Until next time, this is Chief Marcus Washington saying, mind your business, love your neighbors, and always think before you call the cops. Peace out. If this story made you feel just a little better about your own life choices, hit that like button. Now go watch the next HOA Stories twist. You won't believe what happens in that one.